Sex and Sensuality, the podcast, where we speak what your dirty mind thinks. We are here every Monday night at 9 p.m. chatting about tantalizing topics that most won't dare say aloud. Hello, and welcome to Sex and Sensuality, the podcast, where we speak what your dirty mind thinks. We are here every Monday night. Oh, goodness, y'all. I'm laughing because as I was saying that, I remember my voiceover from the intro. And I'm saying the exact same thing my intro said. But anyway, we are here every Monday night at 9 p.m. I have my lovely co-host with me, Miss Gigi. How you doing, girl?
Hey, honey. Hey. How are you?
I am doing well. It's good to see your face.
You too.
And of course, I am Miss Mika. So we are talking tonight about validation.
Mm-hmm.
And oh my gosh, y'all, validation is so important in all relationships, from business to romantic to friendships to family. So we're going to dive deep into that. First, we have political news with Miss Gigi. Girl, what you got to talk about? Let me tell y'all real quick. Gigi said she be stressing out about this politics, y'all.
Oh,
girl, talk to us.
I'm serious. It's like, I'll be like, oh my goodness, every day, all day is something. I mean, from the East Coast to the West Coast, from the North to the South, you could find whatever. So today I want to talk about, okay, so I saw this woman. I was like, oh, she's so cute. And I was like, who is this Paola Ramos? And then she did a whole segment on the rise of the Republican Latino voters. And I'm just listening to her and watching this and thinking, okay, so you're telling me that now because they have someone in South Florida that is Latina, that people that have normally voted Democrat are now moving Republican because of one person?
Oh, so she's Republican? I don't know about her.
She's a journalist.
Oh, okay.
So the woman that ran and won for the empty seat down there, she is. So
the Senate seat
is a Congress seat.
Oh, Congress seat. Okay, girl. Thank you.
She's back. Well, the seat was only vacant for a minute, and she's still going back on to be voted for November. So it's a short period of window, but the fact that just because they said that, oh, we could relate to her because she knows our problems and the things that we go to. And I'm thinking, but all of these people have always been Democrat. But because of what they said, family, God, and I'm thinking, are you serious or what? Democrats don't believe in family and Democrats don't believe in love. To me, it frustrates me because are you forgetting that you're brown skin? That a lot of those people, the Republicans, do not believe in what you believe and what you need and what your families need. And I don't understand how they're so easy to just jump. The one thing that I listen to, and I listen in the morning, I listen to Uncle Joe, and he says, you're supposed to be voting for your interests. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. Maybe their interests aren't in line with mine. Maybe their interests of being a woman and having the right to make choices for my own body is not important to them. Maybe being able to vote because I'm a woman and I'm Black is not important to them. Maybe my children being able to go to a safe school without being concerned about people coming in and mass shootings is not important to them. Mm-hmm. Because for me, that's important. And that I know is what the Democrats stand for. So that's my segment for the day, honey.
Oh my goodness, girl. Well, that concerns me too. But you know how it is, which I don't see it a lot in the Black community, but I see things like, you see one person running somewhere, you just gonna run, you gonna ask no questions. Like, that's what that sounds like to me. It's like,
yes,
they see this one Latina that made it into Congress and they're like, oh, okay, it's time to go to Republicans. So it's like, I see her run, I'm running too. Because maybe she's going to lead us in the right direction, which is what, unfortunately, we all tend to do in general is we follow people that look like us. whether they think it's right or wrong, a lot of the times we're following them and we're not asking questions. It's like, you run this way. Okay, I'm running this way too. Should I see some people running past me, running around? I'm going because something's happening. So in their head, she must gonna do something.
You heard the saying, everybody black ain't your kind, right? So look, just like over there in Georgia with your Herschel Walker and your Jessica. Girl, don't get me started with Georgia right now.
Georgia.
Oh, Georgia, come on, Georgia. You can do it. Don't be following the crazy people down the
It is something else here, girl. It's something else here. Oh my goodness. We'll have to get into a discussion off record on Georgia. Because I know this will make your head hurt, girl. If everything else is making your head, this will definitely make your head hurt.
That's Gigi short little tidbit on the politics, hunty.
All right, girl. We'll leave it at that. So, y'all, this is my juicy topic. So this happened earlier this month. So this lady was arrested for faking her own kidnapping to extort her mom. This is the 4th time she's been arrested for this, y'all. It's so crazy. So this girl sends a video where she has blood dripping from her mouth. I don't know, it's probably real blood. Who knows? She probably got somebody to bruise her up or something. Blood dripping from her mouth. She's blindfolded. She got this man standing behind her, and he has looks like a knife held to her throat thing, and she's saying, "Mommy, they kidnapped me, Mommy, and I don't know why. You can't say anything to the police. If you do, they'll kill me."
Girl.
Lord have mercy, y'all. This lady's life was never in danger. She faked it because she's 30 years old. Her and 4 other people, they were arrested because they had a plot to extort the ransom money out of her mom. It was fake blood. I forgot they did say it was fake blood. She also said in the clip that she's been deprived of food and wouldn't be released until the gang that kidnapped received a $50,000 ransom. So the mom is concerned. She withdrew the cash to pay the ransom. The mom had already made payments totaling $45,000 on 3 previous occasions when she had received menacing letters threatening the life of her daughter. So this is the 4th time she scammed her mama out of money. So I don't even know how they uncovered. Oh, because the investigators were investigating the case. Mm-hmm. They was looking at her partner. They uncovered that his family was also involved in the kidnapping plot. So the partner of the daughter.
Yeah.
So her boyfriend, basically. They found out that she was fine and she was free to go as she liked. I think they saw her shopping. She went playing, going to the casino. So they ended up following her and found her at the house where she was supposedly being held for ransom. And they found the fake blood. They found a fake knife. Oh gosh, that was so crazy. What is wrong with folks?
Girl.
Why do people do these things? And why are you doing this to your own mama? Why not just ask your mama for the money? She probably asked her mama. Mama probably didn't want to give it to her. But you know what I've been finding out that's been happening lately. Because it happened before, actually, with this guy recently. He was just arrested. He killed his mom. He was a college student. Him and his girlfriend, and they was like in a poly situation. So he killed his mom. He had his girlfriend and their partner come and help him get her body, move her body. They stuffed it in a trash can at another property. He did that because he wanted his inheritance.
And he didn't feel like waiting, obviously.
He did not feel like waiting. He wanted his inheritance. And this is why I'm assuming she wanted her inheritance, or she wanted whatever she thought her mama was supposed to be giving her, and her mom wasn't giving her. So, willingly. So she faked these kidnapping and these other things. I'm like, what?
Well, how many times? Like, come on, lady. You know your daughter that keep doing this stuff to you, and you just gonna continue falling for it.
Well, she's saying that the other ones were letters. Somebody wrote letters to her saying threatening her life. If you don't give me this money, we would kill your daughter. And they didn't have her daughter. They just was sending her these letters. So I don't know. This probably an old lady too, because a lot of these old folks be getting real scammed. And I don't mean to sound stereotypical, but I'm just saying.
Girl.
That's a shame.
I don't even know what to say. Because
I don't even know what to say, neither. What is wrong with people? It's all I can say is stop it, y'all.
I keep saying money. Jaji, look, I keep thinking maybe it's COVID brain.
Girl, it's not, because money is not that serious for you to be killing and faking kidnapping. People put so much emphasis on money. And it's like, yes, do we need money to get our necessities? Yes, we do. But not at the risk of someone's life.
It's greed.
Not to go to the extent. Oh, it is so much greed.
It's just greed.
It is so much greed.
Crazy.
Okay, let's move on, because
honey,
we'll be to stand on these crazy folk. Okay, y'all, let's talk about validation. The reason why I wanted to talk about validation is because when I just know that a lot of people have issue with validation and empathy in relationships. And those are the two most important things that we can give our partner. First, empathy, second, validation. And so I wanted us to talk about that, because relationships, it's hard for it to be healthy if we're not validating our partner's feelings. And if they're not validating ours. So let me just tell y'all what validation is real quick, because I want to read y'all this definition. So validation is the recognition and acceptance of another person's thoughts, feelings, sensations, and behaviors as understandable. Self-validation is the recognition and acceptance of your own thoughts, feelings, sensations, and behaviors as understandable, which plays into self-forgiveness, having mercy on yourself, giving yourself grace, knowing that, okay, shit happens. We made decisions sometimes. We validate how we feel about it, but we don't wallow. But when you think about validating somebody else's feelings, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to agree. It just means that you are validating that person. You are saying, I understand how you feel. Now, I may not agree, but I do understand you. I hear you.
Right.
So these are the key points. Validation communicates that a relationship is important, even when two parties disagree, like I just said. Using validation begins with being present, both with your own emotion as well as others. It also means that you may have to be uncomfortable with emotions, which may lead to inadvertently invalidating another person's experience, which I'm going to give y'all an example of that. Because sometimes when we're feeling like, when you think about grief, grief is a really, really big moment for us to validate somebody's feelings. But America is very uncomfortable with grief. America and whole people, we're very uncomfortable with grief. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how. It's just like, what do we say? How do we handle somebody who's grieving? And sometimes it's not even about saying anything. It's about being able to hold that person's hand. Right. But because you're feeling so uncomfortable, so you may say, well, girl, I hope things get better. And then you like scurry away. And that makes them feel like, damn, you're not even listening to me. You're not even trying to hear me. My sadness makes you so uncomfortable that you can't even sit here a moment and validate my feelings.
Right.
So we don't want to be that way if we can, but you could be uncomfortable, but not uncomfortable to the point where you invalidating your partner or your friends.
Right.
It's never about lying or agreeing with someone else. Because some people do that. Okay, well, I'm just going to agree then. I'm just going to agree because that's just going to make you happy. But it's like, I don't need you to agree. I need you to, understand my point of view. That's it. Just say, you know what? I get it, babe. I don't necessarily agree, but I get it. I get why you would feel that way. Or even if it's like something like you're trying to tell somebody how they made you feel. Hey, you really hurt my feelings because you said X, Y, Z. Instead of you saying to the person, well, I ain't say X, Y, Z. I was trying to say A, B, C. You just didn't hear me. You're invalidating their feelings. You could easily say, you know what? I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. Or maybe it came out wrong. I apologize. and then move on. That's validating. That stopped the argument. And y'all can move on and talk about something else. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts, Gigi?
Everything you said, I agree with, especially that last piece. For some reason, our egos are so big. Instead of just hearing the person and what they were feeling and what they're saying to you, you get defensive immediately and say, that's not what I was saying, but that's what I heard, or that's how I felt. So just, can you acknowledge that my feelings matter, validate my feelings and say, and we can move on. But people just don't. They just choose not to. It's interesting that we're talking about this because earlier this week, or I guess the week's just started, huh? Last week, sorry. Last week, I was listening to something on the radio and they were talking about this guy. They were talking about cheating, right? Mm-hmm. And it was a man that got on. And he said how he cheated on his wife, how he didn't realize how it affected not just his wife, but the children, his family. And one of the points that he made that stood out to me was he said, it was an innocent conversation between me and someone else. And it was because I felt like my wife wasn't hearing me or validating me. And this person, because I had said that to them, they knew that that's what I was looking for, validated.
Yeah.
And when a person gets validated, it's like, oh, man, okay, yeah, this seems you understand what I'm saying. And so that sometimes that's all it takes for somebody to get into your head.
That is so true, girl. And that's what I say, like a lot of the times affairs, when you're in a good relationship, things are going well, and then you have a little rocky moment. A lot of times these affairs start because of those little rocky moments, right? And it starts by accident. I'm saying quote unquote accident because we still always have control of our actions, right? But I'm just saying in general, let's just say by accident, because they're missing something at home. So they go and then they're just talking, having a good time, talking to their little work friend, work wife, work husband, whoever. And it's like, oh, so you missing being heard. Oh, you
exactly.
Heard. So now that person knows, like, let me show them that I could be that friend or whoever they're trying to be. And it inadvertently turns into an affair. Because now this person is feeling good. And when you feel good, your oxytocin levels rise. And now it's like, oh, I got my feel good hormones going on. Now I'm in love, and now I'm in really, really deep like or whatever. And you end up
in something you didn't want to start in the first place.
Yep. And something you didn't want to start in the first place, or you wasn't trying to start, but it ended up happening. And now you are kissing and hugging and making out and eventually having sex with somebody else who is giving you those things. But the problem with that is everything feels good in the beginning. There's always that sense of euphoria. And it's always going to be that way with that other person because they don't have to deal with the bills.
That's it.
You come home late from work, or, you know, the way you communicate to your wife or husband and why they're not listening to you or what has led to that moment. It's so much that they don't have to worry about. So yeah, they could give you anything you need in that moment because they're not living your life. They're just there a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So of course it's going to feel good and easy for you.
That was such a great example. And then to hear a man get on and speak about that was really enlightening because you normally just hear a lot of the women's stories, which there were. So he was the only man that called in. So it was really good to hear it come from his point of view and taking accountability and knowing how he allowed this to happen because he wasn't communicating with his wife his wants and needs. And, you know, she wasn't hearing him.
Yeah. And that's, you know, and validation too takes that for you to be vulnerable enough. Or feel safe enough to be vulnerable enough with your wife. So maybe he wasn't as vulnerable as he needed to be. And then she wasn't hearing him. Also, when he was finally letting some walls down. So, well, that leads us to the first part of this is when you're validating somebody, you're just being present.
Right.
Being present with that person. Being present, it means different things, right? It can mean like, I'm just holding your hand. It's sitting with them in that moment. It's talking to them or listening to them talk without your phone in your hand, without looking at TV while they talking, without singing a song in your head. It's really like You're just doing nothing but actually listening to that person. That's the first part of validation. Just listening, actively, presently listening to what that person is saying. Maybe the person isn't even saying anything. Maybe they're just crying. And all you're doing is just letting them cry. Y'all sit in the silence while they cry. Go ahead.
I think it's hard for some people in the world that we are trying to get used to the stillness and the quietness in a moment. We have so much going on between, like you said, the phone, the computer, the television, and from things from the past. When I think back from way back when, all of those things weren't a factor, right? It wasn't as prevalent in our lives on a day-to-day basis. If you had a computer, it was only at work. If you had a phone, most of the time, so here we have all of these things at our reach 24/7. Yeah. And for some reason, we have such a hard time stepping away from them. But I love the moments when I see families, when they sit at a kitchen table, they say no phones. I do that now with my granddaughter. She's like, no phones, because I'm again, so accustomed to it. I'll come with the laptop and I'm like, no, Gigi, I'll put that no phones, no computers at the table. And it makes us sit there and communicate and talk and see what our day and what we're doing and make plans for something else instead of always being engaged in what's going on with the outside world, staying present in the house.
Yeah, because I've been there too. Too. And I want to get to that place too, where we're doing dinners around the table and we're just talking. We're talking about a day. Each person has to say something about their day. What happened? How was it? What did you do? Whatever. And I want to get to that place because sometimes even my 4-year-old, she'll bring her little tablet at the table.
See?
And sit and watch her cartoon and eat her cereal, So I'm like, I don't want this to be a habit of yours, little girl. No. So being present is so important. Or, and I'm a multitasker. So I may be typing some notes, but listening to Chase, or I'm cooking dinner and trying to listen to Dakota. And I'm like, that's not being present. It's being present. It's being able to say, hey, baby, give me 1 second. When mommy finished cooking, we can sit down and have a talk about that. That's being present. So, being present. And then also acknowledge how you're feeling in that moment. Like, because some people aren't present because they don't want to deal with the emotion that comes with what you're saying. They don't want to deal with the crying or the sadness or even the excitement sometimes. It can be uncomfortable, right?
Yeah.
It could be really uncomfortable, especially when you don't share in the excitement of the other person. You're like, what? Okay. So, okay. Like, all right, girl, I see you so happy. But we have to learn how to deal with those emotions, even in that moment, and still be present for our friends and our family, our lovers. Also being able to reflect to your partner what was said. Because sometimes, or partner, friend, whoever you're talking to, but in this context, we just don't say partner, share. But being able to reflect and say, hey, what, this is what I think I heard. Because sometimes you may not be right.
Oh, yeah.
So reflection is so important. Being able to say, this is what I heard you say. Correct me if I'm wrong. I try to do that a lot as a therapist. That's a natural skill. That's what you do. We reflect, we validate, reflect, empathize. That's what therapy is. So it's an art to it, but being able to accurately reflect what somebody has said or what you think they have said lets them know that you have been listening. Now, you may not have understood everything. You may have gotten it right, but at least you was listening.
At least you're listening.
Right.
Do you find yourself that you're able to do that as much as you do it as a therapist in your own relationship?
I try, but I'm not biased I'm unbiased. I'm biased. Shit. I'm biased in my relationship. But something you be like, chill. But yes, I do try to say, okay, hang on, because this is what I think I heard. Let me know if I'm wrong. Sometimes I do that too late though. And that's when we already done had our disagreement or we feel frustrated, a little frustration. Now I'm trying to use the therapeutic skills. So I had to do better with using it in the beginning.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's true. Me too. I do try to listen and then repeat to make sure that I heard what I heard.
Yeah.
And that's why I also don't like when you have conversations through text messaging, because again, that leaves a lot.
Yes.
You don't know what the feelings, the tone. It's so
Yes,
many
you
that
can't.
you perceive in that. That's why I tell
Yes.
people, if it's not a hey, meet me here, let's go there. Don't text me no whole book about we're in a disagreement about it. I'm not going to read it.
Yeah.
Call me. Let's speak.
Yeah, let's talk about it, because if you're texting me this stuff, sometimes I feel like we have to write things down, right? Because sometimes people can't say what they feel accurately aloud. So sometimes you have to write it out, and I think that's fine. But I don't think the discussion needs to continue there. You may have to write it out to your partner. You may have to say to your friend in a text message, hey girl, let me tell you, this is how I was feeling yesterday when you told me to shut the fuck up. You know, I felt this way, whatever. And then that person, and you just say, can we talk about this? Then y'all could talk about it verbally, not through text message. Because you're right, you don't recognize tone. You don't know what is going on.
Yeah.
And some things, you know, people put exclamation marks behind things that they don't mean to. They done did it wrong. Now you think they shouting at you or they writing in all caps. And you're like, oh girl, I ain't mean to. You done got mad at everything. And but so when you reflect to somebody or summarize, you may say something like, well, it sounds like you're very upset that he did that to you, girl. That's it. That's validating their feelings.
Yeah.
And that friend, girl, yes, I'm so upset, girl. I cannot believe he went through that, girl. Da, da, da. Now y'all keep talking. That's you done the validation. Or it sounds like you're very upset that I said this to you yesterday. Yes, girl, I am upset you said that to me. You could really have a discussion about it.
People also have to be willing to be open and honest.
Yes.
Because sometimes you can put that out there and then the person can validate and you be like, dang, I wasn't expecting her to say that. Because I really thought she was just going to go, da, 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 because you just wanted to say it, but not really go into it. Because like you said, that means emotions and going into really how I'm feeling. Maybe I just wanted to blurt it out. This was what I wanted to say, but not really wanting to go in depth about what. So you also have to be willing to be ready for whatever it is the person communicating with is ready to say, that you're having to now be vulnerable. Right?
You're right.
So
that is true. Also, being able to help somebody normalize what they feel. Because I do it to my friends all the time. I'm like, girl, I get it. I understand. And I've been there before. You know, I felt scared to talk in front of a crowd. Or I've also had financial issues. And these are some of the things that I've done. Like, that's helping to validate too. You know, being able to normalize that you're not in this alone. Other people have these issues, girl. We all made mistakes. So we've all done something messed up. And that shows empathy, but that's also normalizing how they feel. So they're not feeling alone, like we just said. And they know that you're there. Because some people would take your mistakes or your faults or your feelings and try to use them against you.
Right.
And I'm like, you ain't validating that at that point. You just hurting this person's feelings because you want to be blunt and tell it like it is. And sometimes that's not what a person needs to hear. It doesn't mean that you have to be dishonest, but it means that you normalize. And then later on, you could talk about, girl, I can't believe you did that shit. No, that was a stupid ass decision that you made last night. But validating first makes all the difference. Then y'all can get to that other part of the conversation later, where you can be open and honest and say, well, you know, you shouldn't have done that, but these are some things maybe we need to do to make it work out, to make it better. So we don't want to beat somebody when they're down. That's the point.
Validation is important. It shows that you care. You have empathy for what I'm going through, the person's going through, what they're feeling. And I don't think a lot of people do that. Not at all. In a lot of things.
Speaking of that, a lot of people don't, like you just said, because they're uncomfortable and they don't want other person to feel uncomfortable. And I've had to say this to Chase before. I'm like, babe, if I'm upset, let me be upset.
Yeah.
Just let me be upset. But you know, she's jolly, she's cheery. So she want to try to cheer me up real quick. But it's like, no. When you do that, you invalidate me. You're making me, even though it's not your intention, but it makes me feel like you're not placing importance on the sadness or the reason why I'm feeling sad or the reason why I'm hurt. You're just trying to gloss over it because you don't want to have to deal with the discomfort of the emotion. Like, you know how with kids, they say, oh, it's going to be all right, baby. It's going to be all right. Let's go get some ice cream. But as opposed to saying, baby, why are you crying? What's making you upset right now? And we try to do that with my little girl as much as possible. We try to say, our little girl, we try to say, you know, tell us what's going on because we can't help fix it if we don't know.
Right.
You know, and we try to encourage her to feel safe enough to talk, to tell us what's happening. But if we're glossing it over with, oh, you're going to be all right. Let's just go to the store. I'm going to buy you something to make you feel better. Or why don't you eat this treat? You know?
Yeah, we do that a lot with children. Instead of taking the time to listen to them, figure out what it is the emotion. Because for children, it's hard for them to even gauge what emotion that they're in at the time, right? If they fall, of course, that's simple. They're hurt. But if they're just sitting there and they cry, you don't know why they're crying. You know, is it because something sad happened, something they saw, something they heard? And that takes time for you figuring it out. And again, because of the world we're in, everything is hurry up. So is it that you don't have the time? You don't want to go into the moment of validating the child because that's something now you have to take the time to do. We just have to learn to be more, there's that word, present and slow things down, right? And be right where we are, especially when it's people that we care about and love. We got to do that.
That is true. That is true. And then also people don't want to hurt other folks' feelings. They may agree with them, even though they don't agree. Like they may say they agree, even though they really don't. Oh, okay, girl. Yeah. Like I've always told my friends, don't be the yes friend to me. Be the real authentic friend. If you know I'm saying some crazy shit and I done something crazy, be that friend that say, girl, you was wrong.
Right.
You know, don't just lie to me now. Don't just lie to me or agree with me. But anyway, yeah, some people invalidate by just lying. They may lie and say, or they may just agree with you just to be agreeing with you. But that still is a form of invalidation because at the end of the day, you're not validating what really happened or the real situation because you don't want to be in an argument. Or again, you don't want to feel the discomfort.
Girl, that word discomfort, that comes up a lot lately.
Blaming, that's another way of invalidation. It's like when people, I'm going to read y'all this example. It says, you always have to be the crybaby, always upset about something and ruining every holiday. That's invalidation, right? That is like, you don't even know what they're crying about. But because they may be sensitive. Like I tell people, I'm sensitive. My ass will cry. I will cry. Or they may say something like, well, you should have put gas in your car before you left. Instead of just saying, oh, yeah, I'll come meet you and pick you up. Or I'll come meet you and take you to go get the gas. You know, if you ran out of gas. Don't do that, okay? It's already a bad situation.
Right.
You know, you already feel terrible. You done ran out of gas or you done something wrong. You don't need somebody else to throw it in your face.
Girl, why you didn't get some gas?
Yeah, girl, why you didn't get some gas? You know better than that.
Oh, God.
Oh, Lord. Girl, it's so much. Anyway, let's just try our best to validate our partner's feelings so that they can come to you and talk to you about different things and they feel safe. Otherwise, they feel pushed away. The person feels pushed away. The person feels alone. The person feels unheard. And when you feel unheard in a relationship, what do? You tend to go and find somebody that's going to listen to you, whether that's a friend or whether that's a lover. So just making sure that you're validating your partner as much as you can. And if you have trouble with it, find some articles on it, read about it, look it up, understand what validation is, and ask your partner what they need. Well, you know, what do you need from me right now? That's another form of validation without doing nothing but asking what it is that you need. Because sometimes people just may say, well, I just need to be heard. I don't need you to do anything. Right. I just want you to listen to me. Sometimes I be like, just say, yeah, girl, okay. That's enough for me.
Yeah.
I'm easy, honey. It's easy to validate me.
Girl. You know what I find that when we do this, it always goes back to the same thing, communication. And then without one word, and it's like to be the hardest thing for people to do.
Yeah, it really is. That's why it is so, that's why it's only one species that has verbal language, and that's us. It's not easy. It is complex. Communication is complex. And we have so many things that run through our mind on a daily basis that makes it hard for us to communicate fully and to be present fully with somebody else. So it's like you have hearing, you know what they say, you have listening because you're focusing on what you need to do for work or what you need to cook for dinner or what you need to, what bills you need to pay. You always focusing on something else. What's going on social media? What happened with your friend yesterday? The gossip over here. What's going on in our brains that we don't know how to shut it off enough.
Yeah.
To listen and focus on what's happening in real life.
That's it. We got to do better, girl.
We got to all do better, girl. We really do.
Yes.
But this has been a great conversation. I hope you...
As always.
As always, I hope you all have learned something tonight. I know we haven't gotten into our nitty-gritty, dirty topics. But you know what? I wanted to start this season off with a little bit more of the learning topics, you know, when it comes to, even though at the end of the day, all of our topics are a learning topic. But, you know, they can get a little bit filthy. But I wanted us to kind of start off this season with more of learning and growing emotionally within our relationships, because it's so important. It's so important. I want us to build healthier relationships again. I really, really do, especially within our Black community, you know, and that I don't care if you're lesbian, gay, straight, whatever, poly, whatever. All these things that we're talking about work for every type of relationship that's out there. Okay. Okay.
That's right. And the most important one, guess what, is the one with ourselves.
With yourself. Amen. Amen. All this stuff works for yourself. It really does. Because it starts with, speaking of it, the relationship with yourself, it starts with self-validation first. Because if you're not validating yourself, it's really hard for someone else to validate you. So self-validation first. Alrighty, so we are here again every Monday night at 9 p.m. You can catch us on all major streaming platforms. So we're on Google, we're on Apple, we are on Spotify, we're on SoundCloud, we're on, all the ones you could think of, we are on there. Yes. So listen, follow, subscribe. We're on Facebook. It's Sex and Sensuality, the podcast. So Sex Sensuality Podcast on Instagram. Follow us, listen, share the shows. And then starting in October, we will be back to doing our lives on Facebook. Yay. So I can't wait to see y'all. Yeah. And talk some more. All righty, Gigi. I hope you have a good night.
You too, honey.
All right. Talk to y'all soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining us on another episode